Did you just hear that? Take a moment to listen, and you'll notice there are many sounds that you may not have even realized you were hearing. The whirring of your fan, chirping of the birds, or maybe even the sound of your own breathing. Even when things are quiet, there are still many sounds that can be heard. But while sound is ever prevalent in the real world, video games must carefully choose every noise that plays, from the sound of your character's footsteps to the soundtrack or even the background ambiance. Every note is a choice, but games have an even more important decision when it comes to sound design. They have to know when to have no noise at all. Silence is the absence of noise, but paradoxically, silence is what gives noise its character. If you play an instrument, you likely already understand the role silence plays in creating music. Musicians use silence to add character to a song. Oftentimes, the space between notes is just as important as the notes themselves. It provides the basis for rhythm and structure in music. But music isn't the only type of noise that can benefit from silence. Video games use silence in their sound design to create contrast, add weight to emotional moments, and to build tension. Spoiler warning for Metroid Dread. One game that I believe masterfully uses silence to its full advantage is Metroid Dread. Let's take this opening cutscene as an example. You hear the blaring musical score, and as the tension builds, the strings come in. But how does all this suspenseful sound culminate? Silence. The score is dramatically cut off once Samus is grabbed. Here, silence is used to punctuate and put emphasis on a moment, truly adding to the gravity of the situation. Silence is also used to add finality to a game over. If you lose all your hit points, the soundtrack will become mute, leaving only the sound of your suit shattering. It's a small touch, but it makes for a really cool moment, despite the pain of a game over. Metroid Dread has heavy themes of isolation. This is accomplished in a few ways. To begin, the setting of an alien world creates a sense of unease. Although full of life, it is hostile and strange. Additionally, your only companion, Adam, speaks in a cold and robotic tone. The only somewhat humanoid figure in the game are the Emmys. However, they do not speak and are steadfast in hunting you down. The soundtrack uses silence to build on your sense of isolation further still. Music is pensive and mysterious, with gaps of silence accentuating every note. The silence is occasionally broken by sounds of drips and echoes permeating through the walls, further emphasizing that sense of loneliness. These elements all combine to create a heavy sense of isolation. You feel truly alone in an indifferent world. Silence also builds suspense. When entering an Emmy zone, the soundtrack shifts. The music disappears and is instead replaced with a tense background ambiance and the sound of disjointed echoing beeps. The feeling of isolation is palpable, but what's truly terrifying is you know you aren't actually alone. You are being hunted by an Emmy, and once you're spotted, the music returns, but this time it's much more anxiety-inducing and faster paced. The silence is used to build suspense, with the soundtrack kicking into high gear when you're actively being chased. This makes those moments of silence feel incredibly suspenseful, as you know that being caught will lead to a frightening chase, as well as being accompanied by the soundtrack that breaks that silence in a drastic way. However, my favorite way Metroid Dread uses silence is through the protagonist Samus. She does not speak or utter a single sound for the majority of the game. Many games do feature silent protagonists, but this is often in service of allowing the player to supplement their own voice. However, Samus is silent for a completely different reason. Her silence adds to the theme of isolation prevalent in the game. It also contributes to her character. She is a warrior and a woman of few words, as she prefers to let her actions do the talking. Keeping her silent characterizes her in a way that makes those ideals that much clearer. Finally, the silence is all in favor of a huge payoff at the end of the game. While it's true that Samus does not speak for most of the game, she does finally speak towards the end. By keeping Samus silent prior to this moment, the climax of the story becomes so much more dramatic. Her silence was used to build a tension that is released in a very meaningful and impactful way. In the beginning of the game, a short scene was used to show the severity of silence, and now, at the end of the game, the pattern of silence is broken with a guttural and cathartic scream, creating a truly memorable moment. Silence is used in Metroid Dread to both build tension and relieve it. Sound and silence are two sides of the same coin. One cannot exist devoid of the context of the other. But while sound is obvious, silence is, quite literally, silent. While many may equate silence to mean the absence of sound, I don't think that's getting the whole picture. Silence isn't necessarily emptiness, rather silence allows you to fill those empty spaces using your own mind. And this is all contextualized by the surrounding sounds. Sound offers a suggestion, and in silence, your mind creates a feeling. Metroid Dread knows how to use silence to add to the atmosphere and narrative of the game. Ironically, silence became my most memorable takeaway from the game. So take another moment to listen, but this time, focus on the silence.